Men and Women of Color podcast. I am your host, Ann Alston, and it is once again my pleasure to bring this type of quality program to all of you. I am excited here again with another professional and speaker that's going to be on here talking about her unique background. So I am excited to have her on the platform. This has been an amazing journey so far with so many amazing people here. So if you are looking to talk about your business and share your industry, the BMWC is the platform to be on in 2018. And if you happen to miss it this year, don't worry, we're going to be coming back again in 2019. So just get your stuff ready and let's go do that. Just in case you didn't know, the purpose of the BMWC is to not only share our industry information, but we are encouraging you, the working professional, job seekers, and enthusiasts to seek out different areas of industries and see what the trends are so that you can make an informed decision about your professional career. Also, with that, I want you to visit all of the pages to get a sense of all the industries that's being represented here. Also, take a moment to listen to all of the podcasts and grasp that information that's being shared on this platform, because you cannot get that anywhere else but the BMWC platform. I also want to take a moment to thank our corporate sponsors and partners, which are Cat Serrano LLC, Cheryl Wood Empowers, Concern and Learning, Evangelism Radio, Genesis Preferred Solutions, J Coach International, Nels Tax Help, My Financial Home, Power, STIC, and the Student Teacher, along with our other business affiliate sponsors and all of the participants that have joined the movement to support small businesses and authors. So today we have another dynamic professional and speaker here. Her name is Tonia Snowden, and she is an inspirational spiritual messenger. And with that background, she is also a fantastic and authentic storyteller, and she's going to tell us all about that in her podcast today. When she speaks to motivate an audience of baby boomers, she tries to remind them to share their gifts with the world because it's just information that needs to be shared. She believes that it doesn't matter what your age is, it's what you possess that matters. And she also shares her own personal stories of tears and fears and then triumphs of how she overcame and reached her excellence. So, Tonia, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being on here. So let's just get started and start with the basics. Tell us about yourself, where you're from, and what type of industry do you do in general?
Well, I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Wisconsin, but I currently reside in Northern California, and I've been out here for about 8 years. When I first came out, I've dabbled in a little bit of everything, real estate. I've had a couple of businesses and massage therapy. And now I wrote a book, and I also have to add travel. I am now an independent travel agent. What happened is my journey with my book expanded into my journey and passion of travel. So I've combined those two. And as I journey and travel, I just share all the stories, everything that's going on at that time.
Okay. All right. Well, let's just start from the beginning. So you say you dibble and dabble in so many different businesses. So, let's talk about some of the interests that you had when you were growing up, which led you to doing some of the businesses, and maybe kind of giving some insight of what type of businesses that you did do that were very influential in writing your book in the future.
Okay. Well, that's the interesting part. Growing up, I didn't have any. Honestly, I didn't really have any interest in, how most people grow up and say, oh, I want to be a doctor or a lawyer. I didn't have that. I didn't have that outlook. It wasn't until later on that I knew I wanted to be my own boss, so to say. I knew that every time I went to work for someone, I felt like, it was just something inside of me that said I need to be my own boss.
You need to be your own boss. That's right.
And it was very interesting because people around me would say, how come when you get a job or you go somewhere, they just kind of let you do whatever you want to do.
Okay.
How do you change the rules? So the upbringing was a little different. A lot of things that I dabbled and dabbled in were just being, I guess, me just being creative and wanting to try something new. And it was all, but everything I tried, real estate, I had a shelter for kids going through foster care. Everything that I did was something to stand out on my own.
Okay. And so was some of those things successful, or because the reason why I'm asking the question, because a lot of us, as you know, coming out of college, we want to dibble and dabble, like you're saying, right? And we want to try so many things, but I wanted you to talk about how were you able to just keep going and dibble and dabbling? Because I don't want people to feel like that they're giving up on what their dream is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, for instance, with the real estate, I decided to do the real estate. When I did, it was just more like an outlet. I wanted to try and see, how does this work? And I always thought, this would be good. I just wanted to be with people. And what happened was I took all the classes and I took as many as I could. And I actually got my real estate license within 6 or 7 weeks. And the day of the test, the day it was time for me to take the test, because you have to schedule the test and pay for it in advance. When I did that, I was sick with the flu. And so I had actually given up, and I said, I'm not gonna do it. I'm too sick to do this test. And when I got there, I decided to go ahead. I got there. They gave me like 3 hours, I think it was, to take the test. It took me all of the 3 hours. And when I walked out to get my coat after the test, I just thought, I'm just so sick. I know I didn't pass. I'm going home. I did feel defeated. And the person sitting at the desk said, "You don't want to know your test results?" And I said, "No, I'm just going home. I don't feel like I did a good job." And he said, "Oh, wow. Well, you passed." And so I was really happy about that. And I went home, I laid in bed, and I didn't tell anybody about it until I think the next day. I did it.
Oh.
Yeah, and the other thing where it was not successful
Mhm.
was my shelter. And
Mhm.
when I went through all the steps needed to take to be licensed, to get my license, which I did receive my license, to shelter kids going through foster care, what happened was there was the state was going through new rules, and I found, I learned the politics of the business I was in, and they just kind of weeded me out. I didn't make the money. I didn't make. It just wasn't successful. I had everything there. I had everything set up. I even had someone actually give me the actual building, the facility. Actually gave it to me and said, "Here, work on it,"
Wow.
and that's what I did. And
Mhm.
I had support of everyone, but just to give you a quick example, there was freezing winter, and here I am with all these empty beds. And so I reached out to Salvation Army, and I reached out to, places like that, and said, "Hey, send some of your people here. I have these empty beds. We're open 24 hours." And they wouldn't do it. And they just, it was all the politics. It was more about the money instead of actually serving the
Mhm.
people. So I was
Right.
learning that, and I actually
Mhm.
kept that newspaper article for that reason, because shortly after, it's front page, and they want, they're telling you how bad it is and how cold it is, and I'm saying, "But hey, I called you and I offered you help. You didn't help me." So
Right.
yeah, so you got to have some tough skin to get involved in some of this, but it's, for me, it's like, why are you getting involved with it? That's the first question. And you have to keep going. I know people say, "Oh, it's so easy just to keep saying it," but you really don't have a choice. You have to. You're going to keep going regardless. It's just a
Mhm.
matter of, are you going to keep going with this?
Yeah.
Um,
And what I'm glad that you shared that. Thank you for sharing that, because a lot of times people, when they trying to do, and I'm talking about the entrepreneur mind of folks, not just everybody, for those who are trying to, even myself, there are times where I went out there and I felt just as defeated as you were talking about, where I'm like, here it is, I'm doing this service and send your people here or send your kids here, and you don't get zero response. It was just very disheartening because
Mm-hmm.
you're like, okay, there's a need. Everybody knows there's a need, but then it doesn't happen. But at the same time, it could be either the wrong approach, or it could be maybe the timing is off, or whatever the reason is. But I'm glad that you kept going and you kept dibbling dabbling, and you started doing new things, and then eventually you found that one thing that you like. So what was that one thing that you just fell into that you just couldn't stop doing?
Um, wow. The one thing that I really love doing was massage. And, I love doing the massage therapy. Maybe it was more like because it was so one-on-one and you could see those results, and it was more like it was that you did feel appreciated. But the other side to that is it was just a comfort zone. It was just a comfort zone. And so, I've always shared my stories with people one on one. But once I wrote the book, because of everything that happened to me, once I wrote the book, that changed everything. And so I'm completely out of my comfort zone, but having so much fun with it. And it's
Mhm.
just opened up like constantly, just like every day there's something new. And when people say, "Oh, I don't know what to do," I don't know what to do. Pay attention to the email. Pay attention to the person that says something to you at the store. Pay attention because you're on their path, so you know that somebody is coming, to help you. So you just have to pay attention to those people that are coming to help you.
Right, right. And so let's talk about this book, okay? Because you're really excited about your book. What's the name of your book and what's the book about? Because now I'm curious now. I want to know the name of this book.
Okay, so the book, the title of the book is "The Journey to Find Me." And to give you some background on the book, this was just like 2 years ago. I drove from California to Tennessee. I said, I'm starting new, I'm starting fresh, I'm getting all the love and support. I'm going to be with my family, with my grandchildren, you know, just start brand new. And that's what it's all about. Only thing is, none of that happened. It turned into what I thought was, it just turned into, um, it was a nightmare during the day.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh. So, okay, so it went from dream to disaster.
yeah,
Okay,
it
so it went from
did.
dream to disaster, but in the end you survived, right?
I did because
Okay.
because the one thing is, remember, we always said we want to change. So the change was, okay, I'm going from here to here, right? And so in between that time, as I journeyed, the thought of sharing my new experience, I said, oh, I'm going to share this. People have always talked about I should have a book about my memoirs. And, they've always shown an interest in that and about my childhood growing up. And I thought, oh, well, I'm going to go ahead and, I'm going to share this story. And so when I got to Tennessee, that's when I sat down and I did my memoirs. I just used my cell phone because, I don't really have all that tech savvy skills. So I used my cell phone and and that's how I did my memoirs, and just sent the emails to myself, right? Speaking it into the phone. And then when everything started to fall apart, I started to speak a new story. And that story was everything that was happening to me, sitting there at Starbucks. And that's when I find out that my identity was stolen, um, sitting there, not being able to get any work, not being able to get a phone signal where I was living. Um, even the day I moved out was traumatic. The day I decided to leave Tennessee, my moving day was like the, what do you call that? It was just the icing on the cake nightmare, moving day.
Oh my gosh.
And so I went from that to moved out. I couldn't even sleep moving day. So I got in my car and then I drove another 600 miles to Wisconsin. And they were in the middle of all those riots. So it was just, and then eventually I made my way back to California. And so basically, my journey is God was always with me. And when I talked to the Lord, I was like, why, like, what is it that I'm missing? What is it that I need to do? He actually gave me the answer that I heard before. And then that's when I thought, okay, I have to step out of my comfort zone. I have to tell people how you have been in my life and all the things that you've done that are just that people have never heard of, all these things that you've done for me. And once I did that, I shared the book, learned about social media, all that opened up. I started to share my story. Recently, I opened up and said, Lord, my journey about the book. I want to be able to see my grandkids anytime I want, and an hour, 2 hours later, he sent that person to me. I can actually show you on my phone. He sent that person to me. And so everything is just, it's just rolling like dominoes. It's just going on, in a good way. Just everything that I asked. Yeah.
So it
And
went.
now I
So
get
it
to
went
be
from
here with you.
yeah. So now it went from dream to disaster to, oh my goodness, back to dream again. And it's amazing because no matter where you are, and I hear stories. I think this probably my 200th story now. It's always that dream to disaster and then back to dream. I think we all have that, in our life, and you were able to kind of go through it, and all those experiences you kind of put into a book where people can look at it and try to understand your perspective of life. And that is really always a good thing to do, because now you can actually write more experiences based off of, after you've written this one, now you have more experiences that you can write more about now, right?
Right. Well, let me just say this real quick. My entire life, I've always, most of my life, I'll say, I've always had a notebook, and I've always wrote my stories in a notebook. Okay. So I have notebooks in my car, in storage units. Right now, I have it on my nightstand. So I've always had them. So I already have the stories. How interesting is that? So I don't even have to write anything new. I have books, I have stories about dreams that have manifested and things that have happened and things that I've asked God to do for me. And 20 minutes later, he did it for me. And, I have books of that already. That's the amazing part. So all that time I was going through, it was me going through. Once I just let go and was like, Lord, what are we doing for the day? What is it you want me to do? What are we doing for the day? Then it all changed.
Wow, interesting. Okay, so let's talk about part of your efforts to influence baby boomers, to remind them to share their gifts to the world. How did you land upon that? Was it through after your book was written and you're speaking, that you saw a need out there to tap to the baby boomers and say, hey, listen, don't forget to tell us this good stuff over here, right?
So after, once I did the book, I'm like, okay, now what do I do with it? What do I do with it? And so, I always had a social media account, but I never did anything with it. I had a LinkedIn account for several years, never used it. So now here I am learning how to use this, but I wasn't seeing anyone my age. So I'm looking for groups my age and, like, how do you do this? How do you do that? And so when I would reach out to someone, or in my age and say, hey, how do you do this? They'll say, I don't know. So I don't know. And so I thought,
Okay.
what? We have so much. And so I said, we have so much knowledge that we need to share, and we can't figure this out. We gotta figure this out. This is where everybody is who needs to hear it. And then when I would ask people around me, physically around me, hey, how do you do that at my age? They have no idea where to begin. And some of these people are extremely gifted. And so now they're just holding on to these gifts because they don't know what to do with it. And I'll send a post out and say, hey, you asked me to do this and I have no idea how to do it. You're going to have to show me how to do it. And so just being open and honest about it. And so then now my daughter helps me. And it's scary. The last thing I'll say is that I shared with someone last night and said, at this age, social media is very intimidating because we at this age have always been so private about who we are. Someone says, hey, what's your name or what's your last name? We're like, why? Why you want to know?
Yeah, I want to know why you want to know my last name for.
Yeah.
I remember those days because I was one of those people that I would not give out my last name if I didn't know someone. I'll just say, oh, my name is this. And then they ask me, and I'm the first one to say, why you need to know?
Yeah.
I don't know why I was afraid for my last name, but I guess it was just a sense of holding on because I would say, 20 years ago, you'll probably agree with me. 20 years ago, we were really fighting to hold on to our privacy. Really, we really were. Anything that had anything to do, we didn't even want to share our zodiac sign. Okay, because I'm like, why do you need to know I'm a Libra? What you need to know. So what you want to do with that information? And nowadays, everything is not even private anymore. There's no such thing as privacy anymore.
Exactly. So it's like we just have to go with the flow. We just have to go with it. So we don't really have a choice because there are things going on that we don't know about anyway. So yeah. That is, so when I think about that, I'm like, you know what, just share it. Let's just, get on here and share it. Last night I did my very first giveaway, and I had a great time. I'm announcing the winner sometime today. So I did my very first giveaway. And I was looking like, where's everybody my age? Looking, where y'all at?
Okay, and you know what? So for clarity, which age range are we really referring to here? Because I want to make sure everybody know what age range we're really in without really telling our age.
Oh, I'm okay. Look, you know what? I got a video celebrating my 50th birthday, so I can't hide. I'm like,
okay, all right. So you know what? We're golden girls. So that's all good. Now I'm okay. Now I can share my age. I can get that up.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, it's out there. I did a video. I'm like, hey, y'all, 50 today. So, and I'm celebrating the whole month.
Yeah, I think a lot of us our age is sharing information. I think where the trouble comes in is when we have a lot of younger people trying to absorb the information. Even for my own sons, trying to absorb all of the wealth and knowledge that we hold, being 50 years. Think about 50 years being on this earth, right? And going through all that we're going through, and we're trying to tell this information to somebody who's 10, 11, even 18, 19, and 20. And 20-year-olds, I remember when I was 18, I thought I knew everything because I was on earth for 20 years, right? But I thought I knew stuff. At 20 years old, I'm thinking, okay, you don't have to tell me, I'm grown now. Okay,
right.
I've been here 20 years. That was my step. Yeah, I got this. But I didn't have anything. I mean, I was 100% sure I didn't know anything. Okay, so I would just say we really have to share that information, and a lot of it's going to go on deaf ears. I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to go on deaf ears, and it happens. It's over centuries where parents tell their kids all this stuff, or strangers even tell young people all this stuff, and then we don't go, somebody told me that 10 years ago, and then they're already in the thick of it, right? So the whole idea is prevention. It's prevention. That's my favorite word, prevention. Preparation. That's my other favorite word. So, if you had to tell me, to share my information, I'm going to be like an open book. I'm going to share everything I know. I don't have anything
Exactly.
to hide, right?
Exactly, and that's what I've been doing. That's exactly what I've been doing. Someone, I want to say maybe in her 30s or so, reached out today and asked me a question, and I'm like, I'll tell you, I'm going to give you my 2 cents, and let's just go with it and see how you feel about it. Tweak it, do what's best for you, because I just assumed, you know what, I'm on your path, so there's something I'm supposed to tell you. So I just said, okay, Lord, when I talk to her, just give me the words that you want me to tell her. And, that's it. Whether it's planting a seed and she did, work with it later, now it's just, I'm just doing my part. And, and one other thing I want to say, and I like to tell people this is, for me, I've had a really good balance. And so I like being able to relate. My dad's side of the family was the complete opposite of my mom's side of the family. So I feel like I can relate to a lot of things that have happened. And because I can, that's how I know I'm supposed to share it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So, what are some of the activities that you are involved in now that people need to know about? Maybe they want you to come speak for them. Maybe people who are baby boomers or other special groups that you feel like that need to step up and start speaking.
That's a good question because let's see. One of the things one of the things I'll be doing is in a couple of weeks, me and my grandkids, we're going to sit down, we're going to live stream, and we're going to be doing affirmations for kids to strengthen their minds and make them more have them feel more confident. Another thing that's really important to me is people sharing their story, and everyone thinks that they still have to write everything down. I still do that. But when it comes to sharing a story, people think, oh, it's going to take me forever to write this book. So now with technology, you can pretty much just speak the words and the words come right out. And and you put it on software and it takes care of some of the editing. So there's really no need not to do it anymore, So those, there's a lot of things, but I'll just say those two. And I have to get out of not getting so emotional when people don't try. So I really just hope people just try, just try
Yeah,
something.
I was going to ask you, if you were to give some advice to people based on your overall experience, and I know that that is one of them, you have to try. What are two other pieces of advice that people can just walk away with knowing that they can do right now?
Right now,
Right now.
right now, right now, we we I feel like we all have abundance. I want to make sure say this right. I feel like okay. Can I give you an example? When I hear people say certain things like they'll see someone would get a really good job or something like that, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, that must be nice." It would be great to see people believe that what it's nice for them too, because we all have it. And I know it sounds cliche, but we can have whatever it is that we want. It just struggle gets hard, but as long as you see that you are seeing, like it's some results, just keep going. And whoever is not for you, please stop sharing. Do not share your information. I've done that. Where I've shared information, because some people are dreamers and they only want to have someone to dream with. So you have to get with people that are dreaming and and manifesting. So I hope I said that right.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, and I just want to clarify just a little bit. But when we're talking about not sharing, the times that you don't share is when you really have a really good idea that you want to manifest into your dream, your reality, your business or your career or whatever. Sometimes not sharing is the best thing because you want to be able to craft what you do. And it's not saying that you don't want to share later on after you get it perfected, but sometimes there are people who would just suck the life out of you because they're just hanging
Hmm.
around you. They don't really have your best interests. And then you share your ideas with that person and it goes on deaf ears, or they are looking to take your dream away from you
Hmm.
because they're not really on your best side. And everybody can recognize who that person is. Okay. So it's no secret, right? You have people in your life who are just hanging around, just draining all your energy, and you feel like that you're trying to, let them know what your dream is, but really what you're doing is you're exhausting your energy. You're exhausting your
Yes.
energy with people who are really not going to help you get to where you need to be. And those are the ones that you want to reserve your energy for and not really share too much until you have an appropriate time to share something. You know, that's sort of what I was hearing, right?
Yes, and even there are some people that will surprise you. I had one person surprise me, and it's in my book because when I was growing up, my mother said, "Never ever share anything that happened in this house. Never ever like write a book about any of the things that happen in this house. If
Hmm.
you do, I will come back and haunt you." This is
Oh
what she
my
told me.
goodness.
Okay. So when I was traveling, I didn't understand what she meant. I was a teenager and
Hmm.
I was like, what is she talking about? I
Hmm.
never understood it. But she saw something in me.
Hmm.
That's what that was about. She saw something in me. That was the one and only time I ever heard about writing a book.
You know what? To parallel what you just said, I actually tell my family we have this thing where we don't really share what happens in our home. I don't come back and haunt people if they do, right? But
Okay.
I don't haunt people, but I say that because there's a lot of negativity also that's out there, right? And so
Right.
when we are in this home, this house of peace, we call it the house of peace, and we are living in what we consider our abundance, okay? We
Yes.
don't need the negativity to enter our world by telling people what we do inside our home. And some people, it's not like we're holding secrets. There's really no secret of what we do. It's just a protection to say, you know what, if you don't want people to come in and bring drama in your life, don't share what you do. Don't tell people what you do. Just keep it to yourself and everything will be good. So it was really my way of controlling what people know about me. And it's no different like on my social media account. It's no different when I'm meeting people. There's certain things you're just not going to share, right? So people have to be very selective as to what it is that they share inside their home and outside their home because they may not want people to know every little single thing that goes on in their life. So I used to
Oh,
tell my boys,
absolutely.
look, don't tell people what we do in here. This is our home. This is what
Absolutely.
we do. Because I want them to feel a sense of ownership. I want them to feel
Right.
like that when they come home, that this is their environment and it's protected and there's nobody on the outside judging them because they get all of that in school, right? They go to school, they get judged. In the workforce, we get judged. But when you're at that place where it's protected, you feel like a sense of peace. And so you don't worry about who's judging you or who's trying to be a naysayer and things like that. But I guarantee you, I'm not coming back to haunt anybody.
Right. Well, yeah,
So if they
this
come
is
back
a
and write a
little,
book about me, I'll be like, yeah, write that book, right? Write
this,
that book. But I won't be
yeah,
haunting nobody.
this was that 1% where, for me, it was a little different. But like with me and my girls, like when I visit my daughters, because they're in different states too. So when I visit them, I don't share what happened in this house, when I go to the next house to visit. I'll share funny things that the kids have done and things like that, but I don't share what happened at this daughter's house when I go to the other daughter's house. And when I was told that as a kid, it was for different reasons. And so that's why that happened. And what I was going to say was like when I was driving and that thought came to mind, that was another reason why I thought, oh, this I'm going to write this. And and I knew that this person, oh, she saw something in me as far as being a writer back when I was a teenager. So yeah, I totally get that. I don't share anything that happens,
Yeah, yeah.
but when you read my memoirs, you're gonna come back and say, you know what? That's why she said that. That's
Yeah,
why she
yeah.
said that. I haven't put them out there yet, but I'm just saying, it's like, that's what she
Okay.
said. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I feel what you're saying. I mean, there were certain
yeah.
things about my kids that I saw in them, the talent that they have and the intelligence that they have. And as a mom, you want to protect that. I think some of the people who mentored me when I was a younger, they also had similar rules. They had rules that, what stays at home is home, and don't worry about telling nobody about me telling you anything. Was,
Mhm.
and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
well, why is it a secret? I'm like, it really wasn't a secret. It was more of that information was meant for me and me alone.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
really what it
Oh
was.
yeah.
That's sort of where I grew up feeling like. And this didn't even come from like my family that I grew up. It actually came from women who were mentoring me, who were older. They were always like 50 and 60 years old, been married for long periods of time and have already been successful and had their home and did their thing. And
Oh
they
nice.
always felt like that what was shared for me was for me. So like you, I've never shared advice from one mentor to another. So I had like 4 or 5 women mentors, and they all did not know each other. They all
Oh.
lived within a 3-block radius of each other.
Oh.
And it was really interesting. And I never mentioned one person to another person because
Good.
they all had something different to say.
Yeah.
And I didn't share with my sister, I didn't share with my brother or anybody in my family because it was something that was more precious to me. So I actually took that theory, and when I had my own family, I started doing that with my own family. Like, this is your home. This is, I had my whole ideals,
Mhm.
and I told my sons that to protect you, to protect your livelihood and your future, these are certain things you don't share. Oh, these are certain
Yes.
things that you don't bring home. And it really worked out for them because I have to say, by the grace of God, they have never been in gangs. They have never been on, hard drugs. They have never, got into serious issues where, I was afraid for the life of my children. And they're now all grown up, and I've already succeeded in doing that, and hopefully they will stay that way. Is
Yes.
one thing getting them grow, but if they stay that way. So,
Yes.
as somebody who is older now and sharing information, like, to this, your topic of your podcast, is that I am so happy to share information. I can't help it, right? So,
Yes. Absolutely.
yeah, I can't help it. I don't know if I'm considered a baby boomer or not, but I don't even know what generation I'm in anymore. Because
Yeah.
I'm serious. I'm everywhere. I really don't know what generation I'm in, but I am one of those people that, I feel like that I am just a walking encyclopedia of knowledge.
Yes.
I feel like I
Yes.
just want to just share, share, share. And so with this platform, it's almost like I'm like the mom and you guys are like my little babies. It's like going out there sharing
Yeah.
information and soldiers. And so I'm just so honored to, meet people like yourself who are telling them like, okay, look, you failed. Okay, yeah, you had the worst time ever trying to achieve your dream, but you have come out with a book and you have gone out there to start speaking, and you are not letting your defeated past or anything that was held you back to stop you from moving forward. And so I want people to start calling you and having you come out to encourage more of that. So give everybody your contact information so that they can find you, know how to reach you if they're not looking at your webpage and your contact information below.
Oh, well, I have a website, Create Manifest. It's all one word, createmanifest.com. I am on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all under Create Manifest. And also, my name is Tonia Snowden. So I have a personal page on Facebook. So either Tonia Snowden or Create Manifest, you will definitely see me on one of those platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube.
She's everywhere. She's everywhere.
Yeah.
You're everywhere. So
and I have one more. and now with the travel, so I have the email. It's info info at journeyswithtanya.com. So
okay. All
yeah,
right.
so I'm thinking I'm going to have to condense all that eventually, but that's how you can reach me.
Okay, well, all right, folks. I hope this podcast was very interesting to you because, I love to share a piece of my history along with listening to such amazing information from Tanya and so many others. Make sure that you also visit all of the other pages that is going to be on this platform here this season, and definitely reach out to this community for help. That is what the purpose of the BMWC is, to share that information and for you to use that information. So Tanya, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I am so humbly blessed to have known you, and definitely am going to be wishing you so many more journeys. Okay, you're going to write in your book.